So this video will focus on GDP per capita, and we'll start off long run growth as well. So GDP per capita, the definition for that is a rough measure of average standard of living, or ASL. Pretty much average standard of living is like how much money each person in the country has to support themselves to get what they want. And a little bit about ASL is that it cannot be negative. So, and the formula for ASL is GDP over population. If a country is making money, and that should be the real life fact for every country, then they should have a positive GDP and a positive population, or else it won't be a country. If there's negative people, then it won't be a country, right? So then ASL, pretty much logically, it cannot be negative. What can be negative though is the growth rate, the ASL growth rate. The ASL growth rate. So the ASL growth rate is calculated by having the GDP growth rate, minus the population growth rate. So that's why ASL growth rate can be negative if population growth rate is bigger than GDP growth rate. I don't know if maybe the population has more babies than it does people working, actually making money. GDP growth rate, then we would have a negative ASL, I guess. And that's pretty much what I want to teach you about GDP per capita and ASL. I guess the most important formula would probably be the growth rate. And I didn't really see these on my test or my homework, so it's up to you to decide whether to actually focus on it or not. So the next thing I want to talk about in this video is long run growth. And long run growth is pretty much, it means we're increasing the equilibrium output. It means an increase in the long run aggregate supply. And sources of long run growth is factor supply and technology mainly, but some specific factors of factor supply are labor, which we'll define as L, and human capital, which we'll define as HK, and physical capital, which we'll define as PK. And pretty much for all these factors, an increase in any of these factors, an increase means that there's long run growth. And labor is pretty self-explanatory. Labor is pretty much the amount of workers. Increase workers and increase our factor supply. If we can keep that and increase our long run growth. Human capital is pretty much the ideas that we come up with, that humans come up with, the training, the experience, the quality, and etc. Quality. Running out of space. And physical capital, pretty much physical capital is anything that's used in production but is not people. Anything used in production. That's not people. So I guess machines could be physical capital, and that's pretty much it. Technology is pretty self-explanatory. If we have better technology, then like faster computers, then of course, obviously that will probably increase our increase our total equilibrium output at the end of the day. And this is all I want to go through in this video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for